Yeah, you already listened to it.
I skimmed it. I didn't listen to it straight through, but I jumped around a bit.
You
And it got a little weird, but I figured.
propaganda is real.
Which propaganda? Or which side of it?
When the war kicked off, how the world was convinced that Putin was a madman and Ukraine was a completely innocent victim in all this, and they had absolutely nothing to contribute to the invasion at all because people can't think for themselves, people can't research for themselves. They just rely on TikTok and YouTube for agents to basically tell them what they want to hear.
Hmm.
I wish we had, it's amazing how educated society is, at least in the United States and Canada. Well, whenever I step outside or whenever I turn on the TV or someone just happens to send me a link to some social media platform, I think mentally we're still in the third world country. We're still ignorant. I think we still follow rituals of stupidity.
Well, I think isn't that just the case of all of humanity over time? There's a lot of people who just don't care too, and there's probably a very good reason to not care.
If they don't care, then this wouldn't be force fed to us in headline news.
This wasn't headline news.
I'm
You know
talking
what
about
headline news
I'm talking
was?
about the start of the conflict and
Oh,
and
I see.
the
I gotcha.
the
Yeah.
the peer pressure for people to donate money to buy drones. I was at a restaurant in the Florida Keys, and when I asked for my bill, they also asked me if I would be willing to donate money to purchase drones for Ukraine. That was like 2 years ago.
That's weird, man.
Yeah, I don't support racism. Silence. What's up with you?
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know. I'm tired.
I
Oh
forgot that
man.
we had a. I forgot we had a session today. That
Any
almost
more?
happens every Friday morning. I completely forget. I'm like getting ready to go to the beach and work out, and then I get a alarm notification. I'm like, oh shoot.
Yeah, it's the first. It's the only day of the week that I have an alarm set, but it's the only day I have to wake up like an hour early. Oh, excuse me. I was in the middle of a dream where I went back and worked at like my first employer, but in modern day or today or whatever. So, you ever have dreams about working for old employers?
Wet ones.
Well, I
um,
suppose if you need money.
that wasn't expected. I had a weird. The short answer is no. Um, I did have a weird dream last night, and I was able to remember it like 15 minutes ago, and I can't remember it now. But
Yeah, it's weird how that happens too.
most of my very intense dreams are nightmares, and I think we discussed it a couple times where it's a reoccurring dream that I'm in school and I can't. This happened to me like a couple days ago. It's a reoccurring dream, dude. I'm
Okay.
I'm at the university and I can't remember the location or class number of a class that I have to go to next.
Hmm.
And it's not easy for me to pull it up on my phone because I don't, even though I may have an account, I don't know my username and password. And this dream just keeps happening where I'm trying, it's always a Tuesday morning and it's like this, it's not necessarily English, it's like some writing class I have to go to with this it's a black female professor and I cannot remember how to get to her class. Anyways, what about your dream?
Oh, nothing. I just had a dream that I worked at a old employer. Of course, the building. Whenever I've had this dream a few times. Whenever I go back, the building is like extravagant, like huge and like just nuts. And then like I kind of like mope around, like trying to let it so like the one person that I know sees me or whatever. But then I never know what to work on, so it feels like I leave and then I'm invited back every time, and then I leave and then I'm invited back every time. It's weird. But I get there, I'm like I don't know what to work on, so I end up leaving again. So you all right, tell me what the difference between Event Grid is and so Event Hubs is Azure's Kafka solution, right? Or
Yeah.
pretty much. But what's Event Grid?
You
You're
know,
looking at it.
I'm looking at it, but
It's
like
literally the question.
it's still kind of blurred to me, like when to use Event Grid versus when to use Event Hub versus when to use Service Bus. And I mean, I think you answered the question about Event Hub. It's just high volume traffic.
Well, yeah, what Event Hub is isn't it Kafka
Yeah,
essentially?
high
It's
volume
a
traffic.
message bus, but it's got storage on partitions for topics or whatever, right?
Well, they all have storage.
Well,
Um,
well, I mean, but it's persistent um,
they all rely on
based on a
the.
policy, right?
They all rely, like, look right here, Azure Blob Storage. They all rely on a storage account, all of them, because due to outages or just unavailability, those messages need to be stored somewhere until clients are available again to deliver the message to.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Event Grid supports both pull and push of events, and it's like I said, it's kind of blurred to me. But I think the use case is for it to be an integration service for between cloud resources. So, for example, here we go right here, Azure Function App, and then Azure Logic Apps, right, where Event Grid sits in between, and it automates or is yeah it serves as the integration point between the two. Um,
Does Event
with,
Grid
with
like
with the assumption that it's low code, which is completely different from uh, like Azure Service Bus, right? So the thought process, and look, I could be wrong, but the use case is how do you how do you plug and play cloud resources that rely on individual events with low code, if not any code. And I believe that Event Grid is a candidate for that. That's completely different from Azure Service Bus.
yeah, okay, so Event Grid is a push and Event Hub is a pull.
No, Event Grid is supports both push and pull. I think the recommended practice is to rely on push. The only reason why I'm reviewing this stuff is so that I could fill up my third attempt at getting my Azure certification.
Huh.
I published a blog post I think yesterday on Event Hub.
Yeah, I saw that.
Um, I like the way I did it. It was a kind of conversation Odie and I were having last week when he was code reviewing another solution that I wrote for. I don't know what the other solution I wrote before this was, but basically, here's my specification. You publish in order,
Hmm.
hence the Beach Mobile thing. And then I just have this abstract type called context. And this is meant This is meant to handle whatever implementation details that are outside of this business operation. So, for example, context could be some technology dependencies, such as requiring a connection string, a hub name, a storage account connection string,
Okay,
the
sure,
name
yeah,
of the
that makes sense.
container. Yeah. And so this is generic right now, meaning that there is no specific type. It's just an abstraction. But then the implementation details would be for us to have a module called publish, and this is within our data gateway, right? So we have a module called publish, an operation called status, thus publish status. It implements a contract called operation.publish, and the context, which is abstract in our specification, well, within our interpreter, which is our event stream data gateway, our context is going to be a concrete record called connection, in which our connection record will expose a storage connection string, a storage container, a hub connection string, a hub name, and it works out. And I could rely on currying. Uh, you're familiar with currying, where you
Yeah,
defer the argument into to the client that actually needs to invoke it when calling an operation, because maybe the
yeah, it's like a partially applied.
yeah
It's
yeah yeah
when you call a function and it partially with partial parameters, and then it returns a function
yeah. So
rather
this
than the actual result because it needs more information, right?
yeah, so this is what Odie, this was Odie's feedback when he code reviewed my last solution, because I was lying on
I didn't think F
I,
sharp
I, I,
supported true currying though.
it does. They have a feature called partial application
Oh,
specifically
okay.
for that.
Yeah. So, but it's a partially applied function, right? But it's not. I thought currying was an automatic thing as part of a language feature.
Curry, currying operates off of the theory that every function takes one uh, parameter, aka argument.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so absolutely, if you go to like F sharp blogs, they often use the example of, I think we did this before in our masterminds, and I think you were the one that wrote the example. They often say like let add and I can
Yeah.
try to
Well, so I think maybe what I'm confused about, or what I'm may it's early in the morning, so you can partially apply a function, but is the concept? I suppose the concept of currying is to return that partially applied function, or
no.
God, man,
Well, yes, yeah, yes, you're right. So
yeah,
currying is you're returning a function that returns a result, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
You're returning a function to be executed that returns a result.
yeah,
So like add a or function add that takes parameter A, takes parameter B, takes parameter C. In theory, will take a function that returns a function that takes parameter A, B, and C, or something like that.
yeah.
Or
I thought it would be like,
it takes a returns a function that takes. I have to look at it, but currying returns a function, and then it just embeds the other parameters.
yeah. So I thought it would be something like if you have a function that's add and you have A and B, and well, let's see, we'll say it's adding three numbers. If you do add one, it would return a function that takes two other ones to represent B and C with A already applied.
Yeah,
If you actually pass a 1, 2, and 3 or ABC, it's not going to return. But so that's the currying part. what you're getting is a partially applied function, but what it's returning is that. So I was just curious about the like, because like you could create partially applied functions all over the place if you want to. Is it just the act of returning that partially applied function that is currying, or is it also the idea that you can choose to pass a subset of arguments and have the function automatically return from the? I thought that there was something like that. I might be just misremembering um, currying, but
It, I, I think the use case is when the client doesn't have the details to pass along or to satisfy the complete set of arguments for the function
yeah,
that it's invoking, and so it defers it or delegates. I'm not sure which one is the better word. The the handling of providing the remaining arguments to the server.
yeah. So the function of add a, b, and c returns one of add b and c, add c,
Yeah,
or add result,
yeah,
or
yeah,
just the
yeah.
result, right?
Yeah, you clarified that better than
Yeah.
I could.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought, is that it was a, but I didn't think that F sharp could do that. Well, I guess if you had optional params and then you
I mean,
make
that's the whole
a,
premise of a functional language.
well, if you make a required and then b and c optional, I suppose. But then you could pass. Well, I guess you could technically have a world where you also require c or some third value or whatever. But yeah.
No, in theory, I mean, you can just pass in the function without any arguments and then rely on your server to satisfy the remaining, even if it means it keeps chaining to the other server of the server of the server to fill in the remaining parameters.
Well, anyways, I was
Phew.
just curious about that. Like there's probably particulars of it, because I've heard currying before, and then I looked it up and I thought it had one meeting versus partial application, but
Yeah, so for
anyways.
example, we can easily do this right here. And uh-oh, give me a second. You can say let temp equal and then get rid of this right here.
So publish
And
requires
if I just
order.
say this right here, in theory, this should still compile.
Okay, and
If we
what's
hover over
temp?
this is just it returns a function.
Okay, so it's a function that takes in the connection. So if you were to go publish status or some order connection, then it would return the actual result. Okay, yeah, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so
That's
public,
exactly what I thought it
publish
was.
status
Yeah,
takes an order and a connection.
yeah, and connection you were shoving into it, right? That was
Yeah,
the
and it's always
function.
the remaining last parameters that are candidates for currying.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was. I just didn't. Now I realize that. Yeah, F sharp does support that natively. I guess maybe that's just part of what that is. But that was really tripping me up there for a second, because I know C sharp doesn't do that, and I was like just confused. That's all.
And yes, C sharp is the mainstream language that I would argue 98% of .NET developers choose to work with. Well, they don't have a choice.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
not so
listening to a
bad. Come
podcast.
on.
It's not so bad when you're doing well. One is it. It is bad when you know that there's another option, right? C sharp isn't that bad when it comes to uh your basically your shell, like your UI or your data gateway. Anything that is completely, I mean, it just completely makes sense to have immutable state. Like, yeah, I think it's more productive.
I think that the
But
real
it's
difference
that
is that it.
business policy that you're implementing where it's like it's bad. It's bad when you have to work with when other people are working on or maintaining the same solution, and that's where accidental dependencies are just more probable.
Yeah, the whole reason actually I think it is that it's just easier to read coming from other languages and or um, just straight up from nothing. It's like your traditional procedural um, coding is a lot easier to understand, I think, to start than functional is,
Well,
and that's what it is. So it's like you're
I dis I disagree because if we're talking about like,
the syntax is just way easier to understand.
well, if we're talking about, let me see if Gambler
That's
is
why
on
that's
here.
why people still don't use link to its full extent, is because
Hey,
they're
Gambler.
afraid of how cryptic it makes it. Even though like the process of thinking of a push, like a pipeline of data being
So
pushed through
so hear me out.
or
All
pulled
right.
through rather. Yeah.
The reason why functional programming languages or functions are just easier to cognitively load, and I think you know the answer, but if you don't, I'll tell you, is I don't have to care about any of this, right? Well, actually, I do, because this is the data gateway, so it's going to have side effects. But if we were just looking at like actual business logic and not logic for rendering data onto a UI, or logic that's pushing data to a data store. If we were just talking about business logic, I don't care about any of this. I don't have to even look at it. All I have to do is look at the signature and know exactly what the function is going to take and return. And the implementation details, the guts of that function, I don't care about. I don't have to read through it to figure out what it does.
I'd say that's the same with C sharp though. I can write a function or a method signature and know exactly what it's supposed to do.
You can,
Yeah.
because you tend to leverage functional, or you tend to borrow from the
Well,
functional paradigm.
no. I mean, even in when people aren't using functional, I mean, if it's well, as long as it's well named.
No, 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 no. So in C sharp, if this were C sharp, then people would be doing this. They would have, in C sharp, it's more common for them to, within the method, do a whole bunch of other things, such as, what's a good example? They would they would take this bootstrap module under here while they're programming within the publish module, and they would say bootstrap dot some operation, and then they could basically shove a whole bunch of logic into a method that completely deviates from the single responsibility. Can you do the same thing in a functional paradigm? You can, but it's not as easy. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, but it's yeah, it's well.
Well,
I
one
think that
one
we're
is
talking about. I
one
don't.
is
I don't think that that's. But I don't think that that's like that's required. I'm just saying it's much easier to read. Like
okay.
people think not read. People think procedurally. Like they think like imperative. Or whatever. They think of steps. Like this, then this, then this, then this. They're not thinking in terms of expressions or computations. And it's much easier to think in that way, which is why you get people in .NET and C Sharp who go um, new list for each in this, um, you know,
But this,
list dot add this some mutation when they could
no,
just do select.
see, this is where I'm
Right?
going to battle you. So, and then we can move on. One of the biggest differences between a OOP language and a functional language is there's a significant difference in regards to the effort of testability. Would you agree?
No,
No. So a function is not inherently testable.
well, a function is inherently testable.
Okay. How many times have you observed or even attempted to maintain a code base that is lacking tests? Okay. And the consequence of them having no tests is instead of doing things the structured way, quote unquote, they shove more code into a method in which now you have a method that's like 500 lines or a thousand. I've seen that. Now you have methods that are 500 lines, 1,000 lines, 2,000 lines of code. Have you ever seen a method like that in C Sharp?
In C Sharp,
Yeah, I have.
maybe like a very large procedural flow, or like a imperative flow, like like a checkout sequence. You might have a series of like, this has to dip, and then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do that, and it just gets to be long because there's validation and error handling along the way, and there's
It's long because they don't have any tests to support it, or else they would isolate the various responsibilities or procedures of that operation into different areas or different files. That's that's why that's why those methods grow to what they are because it's not really testable. So so you when
oh,
you
it's testable.
okay, so if it's when you one pattern of that is when you scroll up to the top of the file, like the first 100 lines is a whole bunch of imports or
Yeah.
using statements.
Yeah, my bigger concern with it isn't long methods. It's more like it's trying to have classes that do too much. I think the controllers are the biggest offender of this in the
Uh,
world. Is like everything gets shoved in a controller, and then you've got like, in those cases you have a billion usings at the top, and you have a constructor that's like massive with a bunch of dependencies. Um, you can get away with that with like importing services or whatever, but I mean, I get what you're saying. I just, like I said, I think that the idea is that to get started, or to be to read it, it's much easier to read
so
something that can be written in an imperative way or whatever. I
so
get the procedural imperative. I always get those messed up in terms of what they actually mean. But the idea of listing statements in a sequence, and follow it rather than just computing some result.
so here's the counter argument that supports what you were saying. You're like, well, so I'm gonna act like you. You're like, well, Scott, if that were true, why would your
You don't
this
sound
that
white enough. Come on, no.
yeah, I don't know how to yeah, people already say I sound white. I don't know how
You gotta
to
sound like the guy in your head. No, just go ahead. Go ahead.
well, if that were true, then Scott's module called dispatch that exposes an operation called or a function called courier would not be from line 141 all the way to line 204. And so this is a counter argument in which this is a horrific looking function that is
Yeah,
still
that's a lot
written
of
in enough
indentation.
sharp, but doesn't look maintenance friendly. And well, how does
Yeah, but
that
it could be
different
refactored
from
to be. Yeah,
how's that different from C sharp code?
yeah,
Scott, it looks like you don't know what you're talking about. Because when you're writing real world systems, they all can result in the type of code that we see right now. And I would say, you know what, you're absolutely right, Sean.
yeah. Well, I think it's actually, no. I mean, the thing is, you could take this, you could break it up into a lot of small functions, but you can do the same thing in any C sharp
It
code.
requires effort, believe
Yeah,
me. I've looked at this function several times, and when I thought about the amount of effort to refactor it, I was like, I'd rather contribute value to something else because this works.
well, can't you just take the first like shove and just extract extract function on it or something?
So, so
You
it
just keep
wouldn't it,
going
it wouldn't be the first one because
until you
this
get the indentation down.
after like the sixth line, there's there's the other branch of this conditional statement. So it would have to start somewhere in here, or it will probably start in this block right here. But it's so nested that I would have to start from the innermost, or
Yeah.
else I would just have a slew of arguments or parameters for one function. I'll have to start in the middle where it will have the minimal amount of parameters required
Hmm.
when I extract code into a function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do functions in this require? I can't remember. Do they require ordering? I don't think they do like top to bottom ordering. I know that the actual modules do, but
Functions required.
so
Yes, they
like
do.
if
They
you're
do.
gonna create
I know what you're
an
saying. They do.
add function and then something that uses add must sit below it.
Yep.
You can't define the add down here. It doesn't like hoist it.
Not by default. What you have to do is you have to put in a rec word, and then that gives it the ability to be order agnostic, if that's a word.
Hmm. Okay. Neat.
If you don't have this
What does
add
that actually
word in
mean?
here, recursive.
Oh, okay. So that, all right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because if you have a recursive function, you have to know about it before you. Well, no, I mean it's
Well,
declared.
it's a
Yeah, it has
recursive
to be declared
module.
in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Um, Without that, it's not going to compile. Ask me how long it took for me to figure that out. So it, like I said, and that's a feature, right? So to make it more pleasant to work with, or to make F sharp more approachable, of course, you would have to know about that keyword. But yeah, F sharp, it kind of constrains you to do things very structured, even with the top down approach that you just referenced.
Hmm.
You see my OCD with spacing and dots.
Yeah,
Uh,
that would drive me nuts.
it drives people nuts that work with me.
Yeah, it's too hard to maintain it.
It drives people nuts. Uh,
If you use like a formatter, or I assume F sharp's got a
oh
formatter.
god, if I use a
Does it
formatter, this file
does
would
it
be
get
twice as long.
destroyed?
This file would be twice as long if I use a formatter.
So if you do Control KD right now, will it go thunk
Uh, I don't I don't think it's
or
applicable
right
to F
click it
sharp
for
syntax. I'm
format
doing it right
document?
now.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, just to be sure, edit. Where's format?
Oh god.
It's not refactor. I know what you're talking about because I
Yeah, I was
usually,
using C sharp all the time.
well, I rarely use it because even in C sharp I'm like hella OCD with my syntax.
If you right click on it, maybe it just doesn't show because it's contextually not applicable, but it might be under advanced. And if you right click, is there a format? No. The other way place it might be under is that advanced tab in there. And under the edit menu.
Under the edit
So if you go to edit,
under the
not here, but
oh
under like the where you were before. There's an advanced, and then under there, a format doc on there. I swear I know this exists. Maybe they just don't do
yeah,
it
yeah,
in
I
F sharp.
recognize the shortcut.
Oh no, format document up to there. Second one, second item.
No,
Yeah, so it doesn't do shit. Either that or you just
and
it's
that looks like a
perfect.
bug to me because it shouldn't be exposed. Yeah, I'll hop off of here.
It's one thing I like about
Oh
about
shoot! Almost killed the session. Hold up.
one thing I like about working with JavaScript is prettier, um, or TypeScript, is that there's stuff that will just rewrite all your code to make it follow conventions. That's one thing I hate about like any sort of style cop types implementation. Like if you know this is wrong, just fix it for me. You don't need to
Yeah,
tell me to go fix it. Just go fix it.
I'm gonna pause this broadcast to note that you see my cleavage starting to come. I'm starting to get pecs because you can see, like, you know, like females have the little rivets in between
Yeah,
their left and right breasts. I'm starting to get it, man. My push-ups are working.
there
Yeah,
you
hold
go.
up. Let me see if I can bounce it. Hold up. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, my brother used to make them jump like crazy.
You know, on a stream though, it looks
Yeah.
like you just have boobs.
Mm. Hold up, yo. This is
Yeah,
me
it
being
looks
nice.
like it just
Hold
got boobs,
up.
man.
Hold up. Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let me show my waist. No, I'm just
Oh, there you
playing.
go.
That would be funny. Um. So, all right. So we killed the coding part. What else is going on? I'm. I don't think I could pass the certification.
Too much going on in there.
it's it's like between 10 and 12 different technologies and like up to 60 questions. How much prepar I was most prepared like the last time I took the test. And I'm trying to do like this hands-on stuff.
And the
I wish it didn't have a time limit, man.
yeah, and
So I
the
can methodically review at the end of the test every answer like I did the first time I took the test, in which I scored higher on my first test than I did on my second test, and I didn't even take the second half of the test on my first time. So I wish there was no time limit. That f's things up. I mean, I understand the argument for it, but if the answer, but if it's really about what you know, you should let someone do deductive reasoning when taking a test, and that requires time. And yeah, I need like 2 passes to cross check myself because I will drain a lot of time just on individual questions, cross checking
Mhm.
myself. Let me just use my muscle memory for the first 60 questions, and then let me go back and then question myself or challenge myself,
do
interrogate
you get do
myself.
you get nixed for wrong answers, or do you get hit for wrong answers? Like, or are they free? I don't know what the testing
Is
methodology
your
is
question
on.
is
Is it
so
worth negative points if you get one wrong versus just being worth 0?
you don't get negative points? What happens is a lot of the questions they tell you to check all that apply, and it's like what's different from the practice exams. The practice exams will have like 4 choices to choose from. These tests will have 6 choices to choose from, like A through E. Hold up, A, B, C, D, E, F. A through
Yeah.
F, whatever. And so,
Hey, is there like another testing out or like a test training outfit you can work through or something
yeah,
like that?
they're
Because
so I was using Wiz Labs.
sounds like WizLab sucks.
I won't say it sucks. It's definitely written by non-English speakers. I will say that
Oh,
the training material. There's also one sponsored by Microsoft that's more polished. Um, I th- I think it's called Markdown. I can't remember. So yeah, maybe next week I'll purchase their product and score 90% consistently on their practice exams, like I did on all the other practice exams, and still failed.
you gotta find one with a guarantee.
Okay, yeah.
Man,
Like I mean, obviously, I think I know more about Azure than the average person, quote unquote. I'm not saying I'm like a expert, but going through this certification preparation, I know a lot, but it doesn't matter. I can't pass that certification. You know what? Like I'm complaining. I know people that go through their board exams, go through their the bar. Like I know they got a lot worse than I do.
yeah,
I wonder how many people have had to go to a psych ward because they couldn't pass a test that they've been preparing for like the last 4 or 5 years, and they just couldn't pass it. I know there's a lot of med students like that.
yeah. I don't know.
That's
I have a hard time with
traumatizing.
tests. I don't
And
like
those,
tests very much.
I don't think anybody does,
Yeah. Well, I just
except,
it's
except
yeah,
for Goggins.
it's time. It's usually time constraint regurgitation. So it's like I don't. I mean, I like project work because it proves like what you're capable of doing. But I don't know. I always hated tests in school. One thing I liked about some of my philosophy tests were that they were like you just have all the time you want. Philosophy teachers were really lax on Like they had literally like they're like, yeah, you can technically at the end of the semester turn in this final essay like next year if you want. They're like, we have to finalize the grades at this date or whatever, so you have till then. It's like, I don't know. I got like it's so funny. I got like a 4.0 on my philosophy course work.
Hmm.
Like I aced everything, and I like barely read the books because I don't learn from reading. So I listened intently in class. I'd try to read the books, but they're always usually like very dense material. Like if you can't, if you have a hard time with attention span or whatever, go and try to read like Sartre's anything by Sartre, and it's like good luck, or Nietzsche or Nietzsche.
I used to work night shift in community college, so I was working from 8 o'clock in the evening to about 2 o'clock at night, and I was going to community college during the daytime. And accounting, I consistently slept through that class. I don't even know why I showed up. Yes, I do know because they would take attendance. I don't know why they take attendance at college, right? Um, but I would show up and I would just, man, I would wake up slobbering, like, but I would put in the work, man. During my lunch breaks, while working night shift, I would be studying like crazy, like a monk, and people couldn't understand why I was getting like high B's in on the tests because they just saw me like knocked out the entire time. Yo, school was hard for me, man. I So I'm pulling the race card. I I just didn't have the privilege of being like I didn't go to school until I was like 20. I didn't have the privilege of like being 20, 21, and my only job in life is to go to school and read.
Yeah,
Like I
I
had a
didn't have that privilege either. I mean, I might have. Well, no, actually, I would have always had to work. I mean, I wasn't going to get help from my parents, so
there's times where I
not
couldn't.
that they wouldn't have tried to help me. They just didn't, there wasn't anything there to help with. So
There were times where like I was dropped out of my classes because I couldn't keep up with the payments for the semester, and I had professors like, "Dude, just keep coming. Just we'll figure it out. Just don't stop coming to my class." Yeah, they looked out for me.
yeah, yeah, good professors then.
Yeah, I'm in my feelings now, man, because that was my late mentor. So I gotta shake that off. Change the subject, man. Ugh. Mm,
Hmm.
I wonder how many of the If this is a record. We have three observers. One is gambler. The other
I
one is
think
probably one of my
one's
exes. Yeah,
checking out your boobs.
I'll yeah, I learned one of my exes was watching one of our sessions.
Hmm.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
I purposely don't. I purposely don't research or Google my exes because I know it's not going to be helpful to me.
Hmm.
Seeing them hugged up on another dude, and then I'm like, man, f that. I'm about to show up at this dude's house. I can't do it, man.
So I've started to put to
Every
my weed.
every 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 person I have sex with is still my property, even if we're not together anymore. Like I can't just move on.
It's
They're still
still your
property.
property.
Them dudes is trespassing on my property, man. And I just be like, yo, if I figure out, that's why I can't like
You get, yeah,
I
jealousy's
can't Google them. I can't look at their social media. I can't do any of that stuff because I'm gonna pull up. I can't do it.
yeah, jealousy's a bitter thing.
No, man,
Big
that's my
pain in the ass.
property. Like, no, I don't like people trespassing on my property. Like, it's like putting your property in storage, right? These hoes are in storage, right? And like someone else is like just going inside my storage unit and like playing with them and then putting them back. Like I don't like that. So
Yeah, I don't.
yeah,
That's a problem I don't have. So
yeah, you married your high school sweetheart.
yeah, but I found that I was going to tell you. I found that I think I've put a pattern to this. That every single work week I go through the stages of grief. Like
You
there's
always
like
say,
5 stages of grief.
soon you will be famous on the internet. Are you talking about because of my pecs, or hold up? Are you talking about because
Because
I
of
have
your
four
because you got
observers?
three observers. So
Uh, what were you saying? You
I was
said
gonna say
you have a weekly grieving.
during the work week, I think I go through the 5 stages of grief. It's like 1 day per each. So it's like, what is it like denial? So like Mondays, I'm just like, no, I'm not actually going back to work. It's like what Tuesdays anger. Yep, hit that on the mark. Can't remember what the third day is, and then it's like depression is like, and then it's like acceptance, right? So I think that's all of the 5 stages. That's my entire work week, every freaking week now. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna make it to 65 doing doing what I'm doing. I don't think.
You're not going to have a choice.
I like. I mean, I like programming, but I still just the act of like writing software. It just
How do you
like
kill this stuff?
it's trippy. I don't know.
Um, do you not have a blog?
Not really, not anymore. I mean, I've got some remnant out there, but I don't really keep one anymore.
I've been documenting my journey. Let's see how far it goes. We're in 2018. So to what you
A
said,
long time, man. Probably
2017.
2014, no, 15, 16, somewhere's in there.
I'm willing to bet it's probably 2014,
It's at least 2016 because that's when I started. I
2017.
think that's when we started chatting. Not like this, but we
I found
both
I
were.
found your I have found your podcast and you
Yeah.
interviewed Brian Noyes. And actually, he was working at the same company I was working at a couple years ago.
Hmm.
Man, it was a whole, but it was Michelle Bustamante, Brian Noyes, Jimmy Bogart. They were all working at the organization I was working at the same time. I'm like, what does this mean for me? Does this mean that like, I mean, I'm not in the same elite as them.
But you just don't conference speak.
I don't do a lot of things. They yeah, they're like 5 light years ahead of me minimum. 2016. Hey, I remember her. Yeah, it's
Pablo. I haven't.
railway oriented programming. Yeah, I was looking at F sharp in 2016.
Yeah, that's
That
the.
I used to record music, bob my head, and write code. Uh, 2016. Apparently, I was writing a lot.
Yeah, how do you feel about AI going through all of this and consuming it and regurgitating it to other people?
Oh, it's going to have hallucinations if it's referencing what I write. Game of Life.
I should try to ask.
How,
Ask it.
2016, I was going ham.
Yeah, you were.
This must have been my journey of F sharp because I can't understand why I was writing so much. January 1st, January 8th, January 31st, February 27th, March 5th. Like, all right, let's keep going down. November 2015, getting started with in unit.
Uh,
Xamarin. Yeah, I
yeah, our
documented.
our interview was March. Our interview for my podcast was March of 2016. So,
Dude,
because yeah, it was 2015 that I released. It was like June of 2015. I released
it
my first
was
episode.
it was January 2015. I don't. Is JavaScript the issue or is it its lack of tools?
Oh, there's tons of tools for it. Excessive. I still think you'd like TypeScript.
In 2015,
Yeah.
let me see what I wrote.
Well, 2015. Man, I don't even know. I guess Angular and that was probably out. I wasn't really hip to the JavaScript
My argument was
world then.
JavaScript is not a proven industrial grade programming language. What I mean is, this language is not used as a tool of choice for the maintenance effort involving millions of lines of code. Air traffic control systems are not run on JavaScript. The code that enables a battleship or a commercial airliner to fulfill their critical functions is not written in JavaScript. JavaScript is not going to be the programming language of choice for mission critical systems that have a significant code base. Even though the tooling around JavaScript has improved immensely over the past few years, there are still no refactoring tools for this language that compares to the refactoring tools that we have in Visual Studio for C Sharp. I understand TypeScript is now here, but I don't think TypeScript was out 10 years ago or
Yeah, I
9
can't
years
remember.
ago.
Well, it wasn't widely adopted at first.
For example, you cannot rename a method or property that is referenced many times throughout a code base, having all references update accordingly. This becomes a big issue when you are continuously refining your code base for
It
modularity,
was
naming
2012.
conventions, and stub generation.
It was 2012.
I don't know. I sound pretty educated in here. Okay.
2012 they added it. But yeah,
Yeah,
with TypeScript you can do pretty much all of that because it's. I mean, as long as you're not intermingling a lot of JavaScript, you can do that. Like straight JavaScript.
Can
Because
a
I
unit
do rewrite or I do renames all the time.
can a unit test also serve as an integration test? That was my other blog post. The answer is yes. Unit testing a user interaction.
MVVM.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty impressed with myself 10 years ago. I definitely have more hunger than I had today.
Yeah, it sucks getting old.
Okay. I wonder if Gambler said anything.
No, he just said because of 3 viewers.
Uh,
Kind of a lazy day today.
I hit trees like Sonny Bono. You like that?
I don't understand it, but
You don't know who Sonny Bono is?
Sonny Bono.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hit trees like Sonny Bono.
Well, it's Sonny and Cher, right?
Yeah. How did Sonny
Yeah.
die?
I don't know.
Well, let's
Did
find
he
out.
get hit in a tree, like hit a car, like a car accident?
How you spell Sonny?
Sonny, isn't it? Sonny. Yeah, Bono. Okay. Oh, he's not. That's not. Oh yeah, he was a U.S. representative. Huh.
I hit
Interesting.
trees like Sonny Bono. Where's his death at? Oh, he's a Scientologist? Okay. Where's the death? Oh, okay. Bono died on January 5th, 1998, of injuries occurred when he hit a tree while skiing. Hence my lyric, I hit trees like Sonny Bono. And tree is a synonym for marijuana. I don't smoke though.
Hmm.
You could tell I'm old and I have a lot of trivia inside of me.
You ever thought about going on Jeopardy?
I can't keep up with Jeopardy. Is that even? I mean, Alex Trebek died what, like 10 years ago?
No, it was a couple years ago.
No, it was not a couple
They've
years ago.
had guests. I don't know if they landed on a final host. They've had
I
guest
mean,
hosts
they
for a
should just let
while,
that
but
show die. Alex Trebek is Jeopardy. They should have just named the show Alex Trebek. I wonder what his IQ was.
probably nothing. He's a talk show host. I mean, he has a cue card with all the facts on it. Like, maybe he knows a lot. I don't know. Did anybody actually like ever sit down and try to?
But he
Have
wasn't
he ever
really.
played Jeopardy himself?
I don't think so. But he wasn't. He wasn't really. He wasn't really an entertainer. He seemed like what was. Why was Alex
He was a
Trebek?
host.
He was a host, but like for television, like it requires entertainment. But he wasn't. I don't remember him cracking jokes or anything. Do you?
Well, he would talk to. He would interview the guests and stuff like that. Like his famous one, that gal was like, I'm into, was it nerd hip hop or something like that. And he's like, people who are kind of socially awkward and blah 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 get together, blah blah blah, and sing about stuff, blah blah blah. And he's like, so losers. He just
Oh, do they have a comedic side to him?
losers. Just like that was so savage. It was nuts.
That's funny.
Losers. Oh man.
That's not what I was
Women
looking for.
and
I was looking
science.
for. Hold up. Can I say choked up? Because
Choked
there.
out.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
how you spell choked?
no,
No.
that's right. What'd you
So
say?
who was
Or
that
no,
guy?
that's chalked up.
Who's who was the software engineer? I thought he was out of Utah, and he was winning just day after or episode after episode after episode. He had a long winning streak, and then he lost to IBM.
Oh yeah, Deep
Um,
Blue or whatever.
no, that wasn't Deep Blue. It was
Watson.
Watson. Yeah, who was
Yeah.
that guy?
Oh God, I think he hosted it now for a while. Um, Jennings, is that his name?
That sounds familiar. Yeah. I don't know how to spell Jennings.
Ken Jennings.
Oh yeah, this got me choked up a little bit. This was
I lost on Jeopardy, baby. Ooh. I always thought that was a Weird Al Yankovic song. I lost on Jeopardy. That is an actual song by someone. That wasn't a parody.
I mean, it sounds pretty ignorant, but at least physically,
Oh no, it is Weird Al. I swear I heard like a Lost on Jeopardy that was like a real, I don't know, not a parody song. Because it did not sound like him at all. What the heck?
I mean, it sounds ignorant, but it doesn't look like Alex Trebek wasted away. I've seen people waste away with cancer, man. That's really hard. Oh, here we go. This is the one that got me choked up.
I can't hear it, so. Famous phrases. The title of the groundbreaking 1890 expose on the poverty news.
You watching this?
How these three words. Well, I'm watching it, but
This is the part where he got choked up.
what's
I
the
don't know
answer?
how we got to this point.
Okay.
Oh, it's because of Sonny Bono hitting a tree. Then we started talking about death.
How the oh my gosh. I feel like I know this answer, but I can't place it.
In the title of groundbreaking 1890 expose of poverty in New York City slums, these three words follow how the hell?
How the da 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 da. I don't know. Where's we love you, Alex? He just didn't know the answer.
He just he just broke down.
He's like, I'm gonna lose anyways.
Yeah, but you saw Alex get choked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I keep getting in my feelings, man. Let me turn this off.
I can't believe that was Weird Al. It did not sound like him.
That's coming from your stuff.
Fuck. Just a radio. I heard it on the radio the other day, and I was like, "This is a Weird Al song." I mean, this can't be. It doesn't sound like a parody at
Yeah,
all.
I think I graduate to a B cup size, dude. Like, be doing you work out.
Well, I do running, but I haven't lifted. I'm thinking about adding some lifting because I need to. But
It's hell. I drug myself to the beach yesterday. I hate it.
yeah, I hit 4 miles yesterday. I'll do 7 miles tomorrow.
That's good.
And
Your knee does not tap out on you.
my knees have been in a kind of a wonky state. They're like, I think they're adapting to this barefoot running a little bit more. And I'm trying to get my left leg to kind of like get in line.
You don't run barefoot. You mean you put on special shoes that like let your
They're
toes
they're
hang out?
minimalist shoes, so they don't have any padding in them. They're just like a layer of leather, basically.
You know, it's crazy, and I'm kind of paranoid because I had a cousin that died from something from a symptom that was. I had a cousin die, and he had a similar symptom that I have. Is I've had a cut on like the bottom of my toe for at least 6 weeks, and it's not healing.
Oh man, probably get that looked at.
Yeah,
Wounds that don't heal are yeah, it's signs of bad stuff, man.
thanks.
Unless you're picking at it like
I'm
every
not
single
picking it.
day.
I mean, one can
I'm like,
argue that. I mean, it's on the bottom of my toe, so it doesn't really like rest.
yeah, what did you put
But
like a cotton ball or something around it or?
I didn't put any. I tried to put a band-aid on it like a month ago, but that's the wrong foot.
But yeah, I think I'm on like week 11 of my long marathon training plan. It's like 30 weeks or something like that. So I'd be like a third of the way through it now. No, yeah, I'd be a third of the way through it now.
Scanner says, "Yep, it's weird." AI,
Al.
AI, Al.
Yeah, that I lost on Jeopardy, baby.
I uh, I still can't find a job.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty cutthroat out there nowadays.
I can't find a job. If I could get an interview, I think it's a 90% chance I'll like just get an offer. I can't. I can't get an interview.
Where like what
And
are
the
you just mad
IRS,
applying?
the IRS doesn't care. That's
Yeah,
the
it
hard
cares about
part.
what you made last year, not this year, man.
They don't care, man.
Yeah, I got all of that. So I had a bill or a bill. I had a we corrected your taxes thing come in like 2 days before Christmas, saying I owed 16 grand. All said and done, it was like,
Oh, I didn't realize I was still. I thought that was coming from your machine.
oh, we owe like 800 bucks or something like that because we definitely didn't report some earnings, but it wasn't intentional or anything. It was just an accident, and
Yeah,
so it was
you
paid.
told
But I was just like, I just don't understand. They're smart enough to know that these numbers need to be higher, but they're not smart enough to read the other line items from those that say like this was a distribution or a standard distribution, which means there's no tax liability, and two, this is what your cost basis was. So they didn't do the math. They just like took the top numbers and added them and said, "You owe us. Prove us you don't." It's like what the hell.
me. Well, I wonder how much funding the IRS gets versus NASA, military, healthcare.
Too much.
You think NASA gets more funding than the IRS?
Yeah, I should just go away.
We're at 34 trillion deficit. That's
Yeah.
disgusting.
And
I
the
hope
bond market.
people. I hope Black folks and Hispanics finally learn their lesson about pledging allegiance to Democrats. I really hope.
Did you just said the actual
Idiots.
headline from yesterday? Did you read that one? What they had on the news, or
No.
what happened? So the special prosecutor in Biden's document case came out and finished said we finished we finished the assessment, and there's evidence that Joe Biden willfully withheld these classified documents, so he broke the law or whatever. But we're not going to prosecute him. And the reason why is they basically said he is too like basically like too feeble and old to convict. They're like his memory issues combined with his like old guy nature means that jury probably wouldn't convict him. So they're not going to charge
Yet
him.
he's
He
leading
was
this
not
country.
fit to stand trial.
But he's leading this country.
Yeah. It's so funny.
He's
And then
leading a world nuclear power.
he came out. Then he came out and had a address the nation press conference, and he just was like, it was a disaster. He's definitely not going to be running. There's no way. There's
He
no
is
way.
running.
No, he's going to run. What's going to happen is they're going to wait until the primaries are done, the majority of them. So Super Tuesday, sometime in March, he's going to step down from the presidency. Kamala's going to take in, and Gavin Newsom is going to be selected to replace her.
They're not going to get anywhere. Biden administration is a Biden administration.
But unless Biden steps down, then it's
I'm
the
just saying,
Kamala
I hope black folks and
administration.
Hispanics learn their lesson. I really do. There should be an IQ test to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it.
And then the other funny thing that happened this week was Nikki Haley was the first person to lose to a none of the above category in a primary. Because Trump wasn't on the primary ballot in the Nevada primary, so the GOP is choosing delegates by caucus there instead. But they had this primary, and anyways, Nikki Haley lost to none of the above. Oh God.
You want to see something interesting? Is
Oh.
how do I do this? Have you ever watched like debates with the Canadian government or politicians?
I think so.
Let me see if I can find it.
Because they're like UK Parliament, right? Like where the Prime Minister sits in and they're just the leader of the opposition party, so they sit there and they like yell at each other.
Yeah, this is my first time seeing it a
UK
couple of
does
days
that
ago.
too, I think.
Canada, I don't know what I type in.
Parliament. I wonder why. What's the difference between a parliament as a name, like a structure versus like a senate or
Funkadelic, George Clinton.
like a Congress?
I said Funkadelic, George Clinton.
I mean, parliament's a particular style of representative government, I assume, but
No, Funkadelic, George Clinton. There you go. You don't recognize
Parliament Funkadelic. Nope.
You know who George Clinton is? He was on NBA Jams.
Oh. So I don't know. Maybe I've heard his song. I might not know his name though.
You need to go to some black wedding receptions. That's your problem. All
Get
right.
married and I'll come to yours. Then I'll learn all of it.
I learned my lesson.
See, that guy's pretty sharp. I like him.
It's not happening fast enough.
I can't even hear it. But
You don't hear it?
fine. No, the audio isn't piped for that.
Hold up. Oh, invite. Or what am I doing? Why am I hitting invite? Screen share. Also
I
share
lost
audio
on
to.
Jeopardy, baby. Ooh. See,
Oh,
that's my
okay.
normal wake up alarm.
Did you hear it last time? When I had
Yeah, I've heard him before.
no. I'm talking about when I had Alex. When I had Jeopardy. Did you hear
No,
the
none of it. I
audio on
haven't
that
heard
one?
any audio today.
Oh, you should have said something.
I lost on Jeopardy.
How do I do
That
this?
song's gonna be stuck in my head all day.
Mr. Speaker,
There, I can hear it
we
now.
know full well that Canadians
No, the last time I saw this wasn't. There wasn't a translator. Hold up, let me hurry up and get this out before we part ways. I don't know how to do this.
Nervous. This wasn't my night.
I'm about to quit.
I don't have to. It's fine.
No, they were going back and forth. It looked like it was like a parody, but it was like actual, like real life, because they were going back and forth. Like,
Wasn't it bad lip reading? I don't know if you ever watched some bad lip readings. It's pretty funny. Data. Oh shit! Oh, actually a full day today for work. I normally have like nothing on my calendar. Got like 4 items today. It's insane. It's preposterous. It's absurd. I lost on Jeopardy, baby.
I think the United States should try Sharia law.
Yeah. How would you find, so if you were going to start your own software thing, how would you even find clients? So like
Using
there's
Sharia
trying
law.
to go through placement for recruiting, but how would you find contracts if you're trying to become like a contractor for like you'd have to know businesses already, right?
I'm saying if I owned a consulting firm, how would I seek
Yeah.
business? I would first be a Microsoft Gold partner. Hence, this certification is a prerequisite for that. That I keep failing. So then I get listed and I get Microsoft's help or backing. For that, I get a professional website done, and then I'll pay a call center to just do cold calls on companies, and I would likely have a budget to go to networking events, and I don't work in the space, so I'm just saying like
Yeah.
I would have to really circulate out there. I would probably have to start some type of YouTube channel, in which I'm getting thought leaders to discuss recommended practices. People would have to know who I am, and I would have to take advantage of my skin color, and likely I would probably have to go to DC and start building relationships there, so I could start getting government contracts that are specifically slated for minorities.
Can you get where would you so if you went to government contracts, because you can put bids in on government contracts, can't you? How do they do that with software?
So there's this thing called SAM. Right? I don't know what SAM stands for. So I'm a registered government contractor. Doesn't matter. Okay. What you need is relationships, right? So
Mm,
what's it called? A RFQ, whatever that acronym is. Where
request for quote.
yeah,
Is
something like
that
that.
yeah?
The so there's like a main platform where the federal agencies will post contracts or work that they need done, but they're required to post that. But it's a high probability they already know who they're going to work with. Hence, they already know who they're going to issue that contract to.
Hmm.
If you don't have a relationship with a with the agency, if you don't have lobbyists, it's an extremely low probability that they're just going to randomly just choose you out the blue. You have to have a relationship with them. Hence, me saying I would have to move out to DC to start building relationships.
Hmm.
Um, and plus, those RFQs, whatever that acronym is that I'm butchering, you pretty much have to have a demo of the product when you reply to them with your quote. Like you pretty much have to have personnel that already wrote out the plan, already wrote out everything about how they're going to deliver it. You pretty much have to have the product already or a demo of it or a prototype to be considered if you don't already have a relationship or if you're not in bed with them.
Yeah, and they don't have any like small time contracts though, like little things here and there.
I'm sure they do.
Probably why
Yeah,
they
the answer
suck.
is yes, but you still have to have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I could be in Miami, never spent time in DC, and secure a government contract. Is it possible? Yeah, but what are the odds that these agencies don't already have relationships with people that are preferred vendors. Emphasis preferred vendors. So it's just, yeah, that's how I would approach it. Get a cloud certification, be a preferred partner, which the prerequisite is having a cloud certification, and then migrate to DC and lobby.
Well, there you go.
You can do it for me.
Nah.
I'll set up the business, and it's minority owned, and then you can go ahead and develop those relationships. I'm pretty confident that black owned businesses are run by white people. I'm fairly confident.
Yeah. Well, no, but
I'm fairly confident.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean,
I'm fairly
obviously they're
confident.
independently owned. They're independently owned or started by whoever the black entrepreneur is, but it's when the money comes in, and then you get people on your board, and those are the people who run the company
Well,
in terms of they can override. They don't run it, but they don't execute on it, but they've got the decision on what happens. So
I'm fairly confident that
collectively,
something is registered as a black-owned business, but when it comes to lobbying and it's securing government contracts and maintaining long-term relationships, I'm fairly confident that the main ingredient are people of or Caucasians. And it is what it is. It's a system. Like you could get with it or you could complain. So,
so
and
you
I'm
just
not
got to
saying
find some
that's
white guys
racist.
who want to take advantage of it. That you can own your own business.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's racist. I'm saying that you people make up the majority, and so what? What can I do about that?
Leverage it. I don't know.
Yeah,
All right, I suppose it's about time.
it's been real. You have any plans for the weekend?
I think I gotta help my brother-in-law lay down some carpet tiles at his new shop he's moving to. Your birthday's coming up here, isn't it?
I
Soon.
know.
It's like a couple weeks before
I'm gonna
mine.
turn off. I'm gonna turn off my phone. Well, first of all, how
What
you
is
know
it?
about my birthday?
It's in my calendar for some reason. I think
Oh,
Skype put it in there when I
oh,
Skyped you way back when.
like that's
So
weird.
was it like the 13th or something?
It's the 11th.
11th. Okay. So well,
Um,
happy early birthday, anyways.
thanks. I'm
I
likely
know you
gonna
hate it,
be
but
depressed. I'm probably gonna have my phone turned off. And
yeah. Mine's 2 weeks from today, so
you're Aquarius
all
too.
the best people. No, I'm Pisces though. The cutoff is like the 20th or something like that. My
You got
brother
anything?
is the 18th, so it's a week after yours, and he's Aquarius, but I'm Pisces.
You got anything planned?
No, I've got no. You don't
Okay.
like get to do fun shit when you're for your birthday anymore when you get old. Well, maybe. I mean, but I don't know.
Does your family celebrate your birthday?
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
they
I
just wake up
suppose
in the
my
morning
family
and say,
would.
"Oh, happy
Happy
birthday!"
birthday! Yeah,
And then life as usual.
here's maybe a present and a cake, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But no, I think that what the fuck do I got going on that week? Oh, my kids are testing for. They're having a tournament for Taekwondo, like just within their own. I don't know if it's called a dojo, academy. I guess I don't know.
You know what? For birthdays, the government should participate, or the state should participate, and for someone's men should get 1 month off where they don't have to pay child support,
Your free
and
month.
that should be the month of their birthday. That would ease economic strain. So
There you go. And hey, there's an extra day this month, so that would even be better. It'd be a super month.
it's an extra day. It's a leap year. What?
Yeah, it's 2024. It's every 4 years, except for there's like these rules about unless it's like a century change or something like that. You ever looked at the leap year rules? They're pretty crazy how they
It's a leap year based on the.
structured them.
It's a leap year based on like the orbit of Earth or the
Well,
moon.
yeah, the
Like
idea is that
because it's
we
like
go
twenty
around
four
the
point
sun roughly.
one or two.
Yeah, so every 4 years you take a leap day to catch up because you're off by a day, and then but but you're still off a little bit, I think, is the idea. So like there's other rules about I think it's like every 20 years or every like century or something like that. You take you skip that leap day. I don't I don't know. Leap day rules are interesting, but it's pretty crazy that they figured this out way back.
Did they?
In
I don't. I don't
Gregorian
think
calendar
in.
was the first one is the modern calendar, and it had.
I don't think in Bethlehem, like when Jesus was born, that
Well,
they
no,
took
no, I'm
into
talking like
consideration leap year.
the would this be like a Middle Ages thing? Because we're on the Gregorian calendar, right?
I don't know. It's been a while since I had COBOL, where I had to write a program that took that into consideration.
Because there's also the Julian calendar, right?
How do you know all this? All this stuff is from my COBOL class, Gregorian,
Yeah,
Julian.
Gregorian is so the Gregorian calendar was. God.
What does
What was
Gambler
that?
have to say? Gambler, what do you know about Gregorian and Julian calendars?
It was 1582 when they did this. Yeah, so it's every year that is exactly divisible by 4 is a leap year, except for the years that are exactly divisible by 100. But these centurial leap years are if they're exactly divisible by 400. But these centurial leap years, if they are divisible by 400.
That sounds like a code kata. You should write that
So
in.
17, 18, and 1900 were not leap years, but 2000 was a leap year. I told you it's the rules are kind of wacky, but they add in like they skip leap years for 3 centuries in a row on the 100th day, except for every 400 years or whatever.
They should have chose this one instead of FizzBuzz. Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty standard like. I think you write this in college all the time. I don't think it could be a
Yeah, I
pretty
did
good
it. I did it
FizzBuzz
when I
type one.
had. So I have an associate's degree in mainframe programming, and
Yeah.
that was one of the exercises. Was what you just said. I think the Gregorian calendar has more rules for leap years to be in sync for a long time. Long time.
Yeah, it's the every 4 years except for every 20 years except for every 100 years except for if it's every 400 years. It's just like it's pretty crazy. What's the other one? So like
There's only 2.
no,
Well, the Mayan calendar. But that ended in 2012, right?
yeah. There was one I did. I feel like there's a way to calculate what day Easter's going to be on, but
I like telling people on the Chinese calendar I was born in the year of the cock. Oh yeah.
I think I was born in the year of the ox. Well, anyways, all right.
All right, send me the invoice. It's been real. See you, Gambler.
Yep.
All
See
right,
ya.
Sean. Bye.
Bye.
Whoever else is looking.